elite events. We're going to be going through at least the top 10 women in both the 100K and 50K. We've got an all-star cast that's going to be joining you on the broadcast.
Yeah, a bunch of live stream rookies, which we're really exciting to give them job interviews this weekend, see if they're going to come back next year.
We got one of those rookies here, Simon Freeman from Like the Wind magazine. We're really excited to have him on his 3-month tour of the United States. If you don't know Like the Wind mag, you got to check it out. What's your URL, Simon? LikeTheWindMagazine.com. You got to check it out. It's a beautiful print magazine, a beautiful product. We're watching the Masters evolve live from Augusta National. Of course, Gorge Waterfalls is known as the Masters of trail running, at least starting right now. And then we've got the Golden State Warriors and the Trailblazers also playing on TV here. But as I was saying, we've got Simon in studio with you. We've got Keely Henninger in studio. We've got Hannah Allgood, who raced today on the mic in the field.
We've got Tara Fraga at the finish line. We've got Rich Lockwood out there. We got a lot of nervous energy, but honest enthusiasm that is going to bring us, I think, some really all-star, top-of-the-line commentary this weekend.
One thing I think would be fun to talk about just to set the stage is Cascade Locks. You've run Gorge before.
It was my first 100K in 2016. It was on my 26th birthday, April 2nd. It was sick. I ran my first 50K 3 weeks before that at Chuckanut 50K, dove headfirst into trail and ultra running at that point, and actually had an epic battle with Keely Henninger over the final 10K at Gorge 100K, and that bonded us for life.
All right, so to our viewing audience here, you're going to have to tune in starting probably 4:30 in the morning tomorrow to hear them recount that story together as Keely and Corrine anchor the broadcast in the morning. But I wanted to talk about Cascade Locks because in the 3 years since we've owned it with our partners at Daybreak Racing, we changed the staging area here to Cascade Locks. The town, I think as Jeremy said, it's known as the heart of the Gorge. And the Gorge is a trail and ultra running mecca. It's also a trail town to its core. The Pacific Crest Trail descends into this town here, and thousands of weary backpackers all summer seek refuge in places like the Gorge's Beer Co. with their busted shoes and their torn apparel and their broken spirits. And then they get rehydrated and refed, and then they cross the Bridge of the Gods into Washington, and they close out the last 500 miles of the PCT in their journey from Mexico to Canada. So we are existing in a trail town is what I'm trying to say.
Trail Town USA. Are we fighting Auburn for that title?
They can have
Cascade Locks, Trail Town USA.
They can have the the endurance
capital
of the world. This is Trail Town USA. Okay, let's give it that designation. Anyway, just setting the stage for our audience here, and we're really honored and proud to work with the good people in Cascade Locks. They've welcomed us the last 3 years, and I think our runners really enjoy spending time here. So with that out of the way, let's talk to Jeremy first, and then we can recap the 30K?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Good. Jeremy Long is going to jump on stage with us. He's our race director. He's going to set the stage. I've got your mic.
It's my mic. I'm coming in. Whew. Cool. You get in here. You got to scooch in. This is your mic. This is your microphone.
Great.
No pressure. Get real close.
Thank you.
Get real close. Mic is hot.
Mic is hot.
I've been known to say some things on a hot mic, so don't trust me.
Jeremy, day one, how we feeling as the race director?
This is my second experience on the mic today after the start this morning of the 30K, so it's been a great day. I can't believe it went by that fast, but it was super smooth, and it was just one of those days that kind of just clicked by, and yeah, here we are already.
I mean, we got to witness the final two finishers come in with seconds to spare. It was pretty magical.
It was a real golden hour.
It
28
was.
seconds to spare for the final finisher. It was amazing.
And to be honest, we had two DNFs who rolled in probably 5 minutes later. And, in our tradition, we give them their participant glass at the finish, and both of their families were there, and they were all crying because they were amazed that, they still got that award too. And, that everybody was, treated equally. And, it's all about, being on the trail and that experience.
So maybe recount the story of, how we came to be the stewards of this event. You don't have to do the deep story, but just setting this stage for, we're now in year 3, and it feels like each and every year we learn and get better.
The seed was planted by, like most of our seeds, planted by Ryan Thrower, with that
audience.
original idea of it would be super fun to host a race and bring our synergistic energy together and do something, and that became something that we wanted to focus on in the gorge, and opportunities presented themselves with the recovery of the forest, being able to reopen these trails again, and with cooperation from James Varner at Rain Shadow Running, of course, the founder of Gorge Waterfalls and the originator of the event. He loved our idea and was totally on board to be able to work with us in securing the rights to the event and doing it properly, and transferring, giving us his blessing, really as the origin of the event, and letting us take the keys and start a new event with some fresh ideas in a different progression of the course, a new cool staging area in Marine Park, and kind of make it more our own, but also with those roots too. So
maybe say a little bit more about the history, because just for our viewers, this race didn't exist for 4 straight years. Tell why.
In Labor Day weekend, I think, September of 2017, it was a really dry summer here, extraordinarily dry, and unfortunately there was some vandalism with some fireworks tossed off the trail on the Eagle Creek Trail, which, if you're really talking the heart of the gorge at Eagle Creek, the Eagle Creek Trail, which is the PCT alternate route because it's so spectacular, the fireworks caught fire, and the forest was a tinderbox at the time, and if you weren't following the news at that time, it spread incredibly rapidly, and most of the heart of the Oregon side of the Columbia Gorge burned pretty severely, and which obviously meant that the race wasn't going to happen for an indefinite period of time, and that ended up being pretty much 5 years. So to recover from and get all the trails restored and all of the fallen logs removed, and that's gonna be a process for at least another decade. All of the
trails were closed for
all of the
a
deadfall.
really long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and a big shout out to everybody who did help to restore these amazing trails and make it possible for us to bring the race back. And as you said, a big shout out to James Varner, who trusted us to be the new stewards of Gorge Waterfalls into this next generation. Like I said, this is our 3rd year co-operating it, My Business Free Trail, with Jeremy and Daybreak Racing, and it's been a great partnership. Maybe paint a picture of this weekend. This morning was glorious at the start line of the 30K. Everybody seemed really happy.
We feel like we've gotten our redemption from last year's weather experience. So,
well, we moved the race back 2 weeks. We could talk about that.
People still came back out for it after last year's weather experience.
I mean, regardless of the weather last year, as atrocious as it was, what kept the event and us buoyed was the runners didn't care, and they had a freaking blast at the event last year, by and large. Behind the curtain, it was an arduous experience, but that helped us be able to generate some conversations with a lot of our stakeholders and permit managers and stuff, in terms of trying to strike a balance between pushing this out a couple of weeks to have us have a more sustainable impact on the trails, so that we're not ruining trails with excess mud and whatnot, and but their concern obviously is this Multnomah Falls itself literally is the #1 tourist destination in the whole state of Oregon. So to send 1,200 runners across that, there's obvious concerns that we need to balance. So us being able to push it a little farther in the year, but not in that peak kind of spring summer season. So we found it.
And the trail is in great condition.
Awesome shape.
You and your brother Aaron spend tons of time. We should give you both kudos for coming out here on your own time to log things out, to clean things up, to make sure that other people have an opportunity to recreate on it, even if it is our race course. You guys do look after the terrain as well.
Well, I think at most any trail race director will say that half their job is stewardship if they want to have a course.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
It should be. It should be half the job.
It is, yeah. And part of the permission and the experience that we've gained is by working with a really awesome nonprofit, our nonprofit beneficiary, the Trail Keepers of Oregon. They're the ones that taught us how to use chainsaws and certified us to use saws out here. And, yeah, couldn't say enough about that organization. And we really couldn't have this event without their stewardship. Over the winter, it gets hammered out here, and it's almost like restoring forgotten trails every winter.
Right.
So with the post-fire weakness that stress has caused to the forest, there's just a lot more work than a typical forest would need in order for the trails to be clear and in good shape.
So after today, we look at the 100K. Looks like it's going to be another beautiful day in the gorge. You, as the race director, what's going through your head now as we have, I guess, 12 hours to go before sending the first wave out?
Yeah, as we speak, our team is dialing in all the aid station supplies and making sure that all of those adjusted needs are going to be based on the warmer temperatures, like upper 60s,
Yeah.
70 maybe. So that's going to mean more gnarly nutrition, fuel 2.0, more water jugs, pushing that message and making sure the volunteers are topping everyone off and not letting them leave aid stations prematurely. And yeah, that's the name of the game with the warm weather day.
They start in the dark tomorrow. Most people will finish after dark. Wouldn't you say? Half the field, probably?
Yeah. Sunset's around a little before 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then we've got 3 more hours of race time. So yeah, we'll see a good half of the people finish after dark. So yeah, everybody at Wyeth, no pressure, Free Trail Pro members supporting that aid station. Make sure everybody's leaving with a headlamp after.
We got the whole free trail crew at the critical aid station at mile 50. And last year, the Broth Boys, #Broth Boys, trademark. Yeah. They got hundreds of people, it felt like, out of that aid station at low moments. So
yeah,
glad to have a good
tough spot.
team.
Right at that 50-mile point. 12 miles seems like another 50 miles. They've done an awesome job there the last 2 years, and can't wait to have an even more elevated crew take it on this tomorrow. So
other questions for Jeremy? What are we forgetting? My brain's not working. See, I don't understand how you guys do so many events. We do 2 with you guys, and I'm already shattered.
I mean, it's kind of unique.
It's day 1.
It's kind of unique, I think, in a lot of places to have this kind of back-to-back 3 days of racing, which I'm sure is a blessing. We get to help crew and pace and aid other runners. Run one day, help out the next day. A bunch of us are doing that on the live stream too, where each of us is racing a day and working a day, etc. But what does that mean, from a race directing perspective, to have
a 3-day event?
3 days of racing.
Well, I mean, it's a balance of the realities of you can only fit so many people on a single track trail at a given time. So, from an economic perspective, that means that if we want to meet demand here and bring as many people as we're permitted to have, we need to spread that over multiple days, rather than having 1,200 people on a trail. That would never be allowed. It wouldn't be a fun experience. Yeah,
either,
right. And it wouldn't be a great experience. So it's a balance of trying to meet demand and then giving everybody a really cool experience and opportunity on the trails.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for
You got an LF Gorge IPA too. Shout out to Gorge's
IPA.
Beer Co.
I just want to, close just by saying it's super cool to have a live stream experience in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, and we should say they're also Mountain Outpost is doing the Y East Trail Fest, right?
Come up to Mount Hood.
Yeah.
Third weekend of July, Y East Trail Fest. We're gonna have the live stream there, sending people up to 8,000 feet up on the volcanic scree of Mount Hood. So
check it out. DaybreakRacing.com. Best events in the Pacific Northwest. We also have an event called the Big Alta down in Northern California.
Yeah.
Really proud to work with Jeremy, Aaron, Daybreak Racing on everything they do. And thanks for holding the whole thing together this weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Round of applause for our race director, Jeremy Long. All righty. Well, we have a quick break in the action. I'll give a quick shout out to our presenting sponsor of race weekend, Speedland. We got our boy Clark Morgan at the bar back there. Clark lives the brand. He lives the sport. 7th place in the 30K. Absolutely smashed it. First Masters. Really proud to have Speedland on board as our presenting sponsor for the 3rd year in a row. If you guys don't know about these shoes, best shoes in the world, run speedland.com. Check it out. This black shoe right here, it's going to be called the GSSFD. It's going to be going on pre-order starting May 1st. So in just a couple of weeks, you can get the next pair of Speedlands. This green one, the GSPDX, we couldn't keep in stock. They disappeared in a couple of days. A lot of people wondering when the next one's coming. It's coming soon, May 1st. Runspeedland.com. Don't be late or they might disappear again. French fries.
Thank you,
Gorge's right there. Thank you, Gorge's beer. See, I got to pace myself to have my LF Gorge IPA until Sunday evening. But,
we can make that happen.
It'll taste better then. Corrine, let's talk about what happened today. It was a sick first day at the Gorge 30K. I don't think you were around, but did you follow it remotely?
I did follow it remotely. I made it in time for about the final hour, the golden hour of the 30K coverage, which was also phenomenal to see the final finishers make their way in. I'm like chewing into the microphone right now. But it seems like, I mean, I wrote the race preview that we put up on Wednesday.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was super, super impressed by the level and depth of the front of the field as well. And I knew we were going to have a race on our hands in both the men's race and the women's race. And it seems like it played out exactly as expected, fast and fierce.
It did. So let's just go through the podium real quick for both men and women. We'll add a little bit of color, and then maybe we'll go a little deeper in the results list if that sounds good to you.
Let's do it.
Let's start with the men. Matt Daniels on an absolute heater to start 2024. Comes and smashes the course record. Last year, Liam Myro won the race in 2 hours and 5 minutes. This year, Matt Daniels comes from Boulder, Colorado, runs 1:55. So again, 10 minutes off the existing course record, which is an insane margin in a 30K race.
Yeah, slightly better conditions than
Much
last
better
year,
conditions,
but
we should say. Yeah.
Really, really fast.
Yeah.
We were talking off mic that Matt lost his sponsorship going into this year, and we both kind of all agree that maybe that's the best thing that could happen. The guy has been on a burner all season, showed up at Big Alta, had a great day there, improved that, 3-2-1, third at Big Alta, second at Chuckanut, first here at Gorge in the 30K. He's headed to the Canyons 100K in 2 weeks, and I am waiting with bated breath to see that performance.
He feels centered to me. That's the word that I want to use. Matt Daniels, as you said, having an insane momentum going into Canyons with 3 podiums this year. And yeah, just from a almost attitude, psychological perspective, he feels like a different athlete. We will remember that last year in the 50K, Matt Daniels had one of the most ridiculous comeback victories that I can ever recall in a 50K. He was 12 minutes behind.
Had a melty.
Yeah.
Ran into Bailey Kowalczyk out on the trail and said, I don't think I want to do this. And she said, put your big boy pants on, figure this out, you got to go. And went from 12 minutes down to winning the thing. To
winning by 5 minutes. So he basically ran the back half of the 50K last year, 17 minutes faster than anybody else in the field.
Then Ryan Becker, and Ryan's no slouch.
Right.
That was very impressive.
Point is, Matt Daniels knows how to shred. He's never lost a race in Oregon. He keeps that streak going here again with a victory, 1:55 for first place in the 30K here today, 2 weeks out from his attempt at a golden ticket at Canyons 100K in Northern California. Behind him was last year's champ, Liam Myro, the local kid who we know and love. We did a fun series with Liam last year with Free Trail called Rookie Season. He is now officially a professional athlete for Nike. And I love this kid. He ran faster than he did last year. He ran 2:02:33, so about 3 minutes faster than last year. But one step lower on the podium. He was a little disappointed in himself. I coached him up a little bit. I said, kid, you lost to Matt Daniels. There's no shame in that. Just get experience, keep swinging the bat, and eventually you knock it out of the park. You know?
Zero shame in a second place to Matt Daniels. And actually, really interesting character in third, Andrew Rylersdam. And he's an interesting character, young, I think lives in Portland. He had one result on his ultra sign-up going into this, which was a 50K road performance back in 2021. Ran a 3:04 there, quite fast. But looking at what he's got signed up for this year, he's doing the smattering of the National Golden Trail World Series stuff, which is going to be really, really exciting. Seeing him at Breakneck, Y East, and Mammoth. Seems like an up-and-comer swinging for the fences.
Yep, so he'll be at the Daybreak Hawaii Trail Fest later on this summer. And he actually mentioned that to me. So actually backing up a step, Liam Myro, I was chatting with him yesterday at Bib Pickup.
Did he tell you about this guy?
He was like, look out for my buddy Andrew Reilersdam. So immediately I changed my fantasy team. Shout out to Travis Longcar here. And so unfortunately it was still, my ballot was still only good enough for 64th in fantasy. By the way, play fantasy trail running this weekend, fantasy.freetrail.com. We'll include prizes. So make sure you plug your picks in. But Liam tuned me on to this guy. He's one of the Bowerman Elite group in Portland, Oregon, comes from a track background. This was his first trail race, lands on the podium. Only
if he performs at
a minute and a half behind Liam.
That's like a step into like the international series, going to Mammoth, where again all the best of the best are going to be coming in globally. Like, I'm excited to see these road guys transition over. Yeah, samesies. So anyway, that was our podium on the men's side. Matt Daniels, Liam Myro, Andrew Reilersdam. We'll probably mention a few others that were behind them in the rest of the top 10, but let's transition over to the women's top 10. You want to get us started? Yeah, sure. I mean, I wrote the preview for this, and I thought it was going to be a three-way battle between Rachel Drake, Hannah Allgood, and Claire DeVoe, knowing that Rachel's come off an amazing early season. She's prepping for Western States, getting ready to move to Salt Lake. You know, she, in my mind, was the one to beat. She did come out on top again today, but it was a solid battle between her, followed by Hannah Allgood and Claire DeVoe. Hannah and Claire both just had really good performances at Chuckanut 50K. Claire winning that race there in an outstanding fashion. Hannah Allgood, I don't think, had the day she wanted at Chuckanut, but she's prepping for some bigger things. Yeah. And I think when you're so used to throwing down in the 100K distances, dropping down to a 30K can be quite intimidating. So sticking her neck out there before she works behind the mic for the rest of the weekend. Yes, awesome. So Rachel Drake, local, well, who's going long like time local, but moving to Salt Lake. So you guys are allowed to boo on that one. We're a little bit bummed. Yeah, boo in audience here. I was trying to woo her to Seattle, did not win that battle, but I mean, both her and Matt Daniels early favorites for Trail Runner of the Year right now, Travis. I'm just gonna say it. You know, maybe you throw Eli Hemming in the mix there too. But yeah, I mean, so Rachel again, she ended 2023 running a 2:35 marathon at CIM, finishing 5th there. Did not go to Olympic marathon trials to run the Black Canyon 100K. Took the win there, paced actually in by Keely Henninger, who's still the course record holder. And actually before that went over to Hong Kong, ran a little 33K, won that, smoked the field. Like, if you're buying stock, you're buying it in Rachel Drake. Yeah, and so she'll be making her 100-mile debut at Western States at the end of June, and then starts residency like a weekish later in Salt Lake in anesthesiology. So she's kind of a baller. And of course, her husband Tyler Green, also a local legend here, is a 2-time podium finisher at the Western States 100. So as we start looking ahead, you and I, to the storylines for Western States, Tyler and Rachel being on the start line together is just going to be one for the ages. As you mentioned, Hannah Allgood, formerly known as Osowski, if you see her on the official results page. I got to run with both of them with the Instagram live going, and holy smokes, your boy was VO2 maxing. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Dylan would probably say this, but Hannah's coaching Dylan, whipping his butt into shape right now. Yeah, coach. I think you're like 6 or 7 weeks in? 6 weeks deep. That's why I could hang on. Yeah. Unlike at Big Alta in February, where Dylan blew up spectacularly trying to follow the men. But I will say that Hannah's a PT, incredibly strong athlete, incredibly dedicated athlete. I think this is a phenomenal start to her season. You know, this and Chuckanut kicking off some bigger things. She's going to Transvolcania, which is going to be nails. That field is also amazing. I'll be there. The whole Trail Society team will be there. Keely and Hillary are both running that as well. Yes. So Transvolcania in early May is heating up to be one of the, most talented 80K fields in the world. Tell me about Claire DeVoe. This is our 3rd place finisher here today. Like you said, she just won Chuckanut. I just met her for the first time in person today. She's so nice. She's one of those, quiet assassins in Seattle, huh? Yeah, and she's been around the trail running scene for a while, been around the road running and kind of like club cross country scene as well. But she's battled a number of injuries over the last couple of years that has really kind of sidelined her from her potential. She's the person in our like local running chat group where it's like, a bunch of us are sponsored runners and Claire is not. And like, she is truly like the most talented one of our friend group. And so to see Claire show up healthy to a race like Chuckanut and like really put the world, the country on notice there you know, coming out on top of some really big names was incredibly impressive. I was really happy to see that she felt good enough to be here in the 30K. And then she'll be at Broken Arrow running the short distance there in June. So I'm excited for her to be healthy and put together a really solid season. She supports so many of us. Even when she's injured, she was out on a bike cheering during Cascade Crest last year. So to see her healthy and running, like, just is like, I don't know, a ton of joy for the rest of us.
That's sort of one of those people to keep your eye on here.
Oh yeah, no, like silent assassin, silent crusher. Seattle knew exactly how talented she was going into Chucking Up, but now the rest of the world, the rest of the country knows that, and so excited to see where her star rises over the next couple months.
Awesome. So maybe just ticking through a couple other notable performances. I just wanted to give a shout out to Patricia Roney, who is from, I think it's North Vancouver, BC. And I just wanted to give her a shout out because her husband came up to me after she finished. She said, "You forgot to mention her in the preview on freetrail.com." I said, "I'll take it up with Corrine. Don't worry, it's not my fault."
I only put 3 men and 3 women in the 30K preview because the 100K is insane.
But she's new to me. I didn't know much about
the Canadians,
Patricia either, but the Canadians did show up.
Eating French fries, and there's a bunch of Canadians in the 100K as well. And like normally we're used to like the British Columbia representation, some Alberta in there, but we've got like Manitoba and a bunch of other Canadian athletes who are here to throw down this weekend, which is really, really exciting.
So fun. Maybe just ticking through a couple more here. Eric Hamill was a guy I wanted to give a shout out. He finished 4th, young dude, 26 years old. He said
out of Flagstaff, right?
Yeah, he said he grew up in this area. He lives in Flagstaff now. It's great to have him. Ben Robinson, first Beast Coaster from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, and he's really good at this like sub 50K distance. He kind of keeps like shooting a shot at the 50K and above distance, but he's really fast at this. I think he had a kind of rough Chucking Up. He hung in there and finished it out and ran still a really great time, but I want to see him throw down in this stuff and kind of the like National Golden Trail series.
Yeah. And my boy Clark Morgan, who I just mentioned here, he said to me that his time was going to be good enough for 2nd place last year. He got 7th here today, but first master, so shout out Clark. Let's move on and maybe preview a little bit of the action from the 100K and 50K coming up this weekend.
Let's do it. We can do that. I can open
100K
links.
starts 5 a.m. local time. That's Pacific time here tomorrow morning. Oh, Matt Daniels is here. Can you come have a seat with us, please?
Matt Daniels. Welcome, Matt. You shouldn't have come up here if you didn't want to get put on the mic. I'm eating French fries. Would you like some?
He's like, I just came to have an IPA, guys.
French fries and beer.
You're gonna get close.
If somebody wants to get him a beer, we would happily put it on the free trail tab.
Slide on in here. I know you're tired from winning.
Oh, how are you guys?
Do you want a beer?
I'll get one in a little bit.
Okay, no worries.
Coming close.
Matt Daniels, you're on a heater. We've established that here already in our show here today. How do the legs feel, first of all, after your crazy fast 155?
Oh, thanks, man. They feel pretty good. I think like being a little bit of a shorter distance helped a lot. So, yeah, I mean, they're feeling good. We'll see tomorrow.
I mean, you're in the midst of a training block prepping for Canyon's 100K. And I feel like it's always hard to know how you're feeling in the middle of a training block. When people are like, "Oh, how's it going?" You're like, "I don't know. I'm tired and I'm running a lot." I don't know. Running really well in a 30K today has to be a little bit of a confidence booster.
Yeah, it was. I was telling the guys before I came over, they were like, you know, like, what do you think? You're gonna win? I was like, I don't know, man. I literally just did like a 22-mile day. It was 3 days ago, and I was like, I'm right in the middle of this block. Like, I don't have a clue how this is gonna go. So I was pleased with it. Yeah, it went well.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought I heard my son.
Oh, sorry.
It was somebody else's kid.
Another baby. I mean, I'll say to your face what I told Dylan when I got to the finish line earlier today, and I was like, I know that Matt's disappointed to be unsponsored coming into the season, but I've got to say that you're running better than ever. It's kind of one of those like horrible gifts potentially.
It's a silver lining. It's a refocus.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, has that allowed you to kind of like, I don't know, get back in touch with what you want from running maybe a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been working like on a lot of things in life, and I think that it's kind of just all come to head with, and especially it shows in running. You know, like running when you're extra stressed and things aren't going well. Like,
oh, you suck.
Running sucks, right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm just in a good place right now and enjoying the process, and whatever comes of that with sponsorship, great. If not, you know, whatever. I love running is kind of the point I'm at, and just kind of taking it for stride, I guess.
So let's talk about your strategy today, because I saw you guys ran with you for a microsecond around mile 5. I got a sweet clip of you, by the way. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
I could barely hang on. But you were already asking me what the gap was to Liam, which was like 20 seconds. So it felt to me like you wanted to put the pressure on him early. Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, dude, Liam's so fast. And I knew like this was his distance, and he's been running really well too. And so, yeah, I think I was telling you, I was like, I just can't shake him. Like everything I was trying to do on any of the most technical sections, I was trying to send it as fast as I could. The downhills, any switchbacks, I was trying to get out of his sight. So there's a lot of like, little games you play early on just to kind of like try and establish that power early in the race. And I couldn't shake him, I think, until maybe he took that spill somewhere around there. After that, I didn't see him after that. But that was kind of the strategy, was just use the tougher part of the courses to my advantage, because I knew on the road sections he was going to be there. So yeah,
he said he closed the gap to about 10 seconds on the road. Ended up being 7 minutes at the end, so the back half. Obviously, he did take a fall, like you said. He said it was his first time ever falling on a trail. I said, okay, it won't be your last.
Yeah, we all know how that goes. Like when that happens for the first time, you're kind of shook, man. Like it's not a fun experience.
Especially when you're moving at the speeds that you guys were. That's not just like catching a toe and like sort of ungracefully stumbling. It's like a hit the deck super hard type thing.
Definitely.
So when did you officially break the elastic, do you think? With that fall, like out of Wakulla?
Oh gosh, yeah, I think coming out of there, you have that little bit of a climb, and I just pushed that as hard as I felt, was comfortable. And so once I got that through that climb, and then there's kind of like a dirt road downhill section, and I just was like, see how fast you can go on it. So I was like looking at my watch at the pace, and it was like 420, 415 pace per second. I was like, sweet, all right. Like if he's catching me on this, then
he's not.
he's not.
Casual.
So I think that's probably where the gap started.
How about your undefeated streak in Oregon?
Yeah, so I was thinking about that. I lost a track race here in Oregon, but in terms of trail racing, undefeated in Oregon. That was another thing I was telling the guys. I was like, well, the streak may end like bumping down to 30K, like having to come out here and race these faster guys. But I don't know, it's kind of cool. Maybe I'll have to come out for the 100K next year to try and keep it going.
I'm holding you to that, buddy.
Yeah.
I got 12 months to give you the hard sales pitch.
All right.
Maybe in closing, unless you have other questions for Matt, you could just fill the audience in about what the next couple weeks look like leading into Canyons.
Yeah, nothing too crazy, just kind of maintaining, I guess. I'll probably have a decent training week coming up, and then, we'll start the taper. I mean, we're only 2 weeks away now, so just be smart, don't be dumb, keep the head on straight.
Easier said than done.
That's right.
Yeah.
You'll get to see him at Canyons.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, you guys will be there.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. All right. Cool.
All right, well, big round of applause for Matt Daniels. Well, serendipitous champion just walking into the brewery. That's what happens here at Gorge. We should say again, reminding you, he did win the 50K last year. So that's what we're talking about when I say I'm going to give him the hard sell to come back for the 100K next year. Then he'll be the first person with the trifecta victory here at Gorge Waterfalls. So
that works for me.
I see Lauren's here. Should we talk to Lauren real quick before we do our preview?
I mean, I'm down.
Lauren, do you want to just get... All right, we got Lauren Puretz coming up. One of the
No
favorites
one's
in the
allowed to
50K.
have dinner or beer. Sorry.
Just so she doesn't have to hang out too long with our long-winded... Hey, Lauren.
Welcome. Come get really cozy with us. Get in here.
Lauren, we've never met.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Do you remember I've seen you in person once?
I do.
It was when you were blasting past me and my runner at Black Canyon on your way to an awesome third place golden ticket performance at the Black Canyon 100K.
I do remember that. Because I don't know how, I was, but I remember seeing you as I was going by. I was like, I think I know him. And then I was like, just finish, just focus, finish.
That was rad.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really cool to see you at the finish line of that race too, where your crew had like not lied to you, but basically had just like not told you what was going on. You finished third, you finished with a golden ticket. The surprise that came over your face when that golden ticket came towards you was really, really special. And I'm wondering now that has like sunk in a little bit more. How are you feeling in our kind of final build towards Western States?
To be honest, I'm terrified. I am so nervous. I mean, I'm super excited, and I cannot wait. This is like a dream come true. And then waves of pure panic come over me when I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
That's normal.
Yeah, good. I'm glad, because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. There's these like waves of panic. And then I remember like, oh, I got some time. Slow down. You can do this. But yeah, I'm nervous.
Yeah, and then by race week, we're gonna ask you that same question in Olympic Valley. You're gonna be like, I'm indifferent. I just want the race to start.
Just
yeah,
shoot the shotgun, for God's sake.
I know. I can't think about this anymore.
Wait, backing up a step, I think I heard a story that you didn't know that you had finished in third at Black Canyon. Therefore, you didn't know that you had got the golden ticket.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Tell that story, because I think that's unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just assumed, like, I've run a bunch of, golden ticket races, and I always come in, like, top 10-ish. And
fourth at Javelina last year, so really close to a golden ticket.
Yep.
And so I just kind of assume I'm always kind of in the mix, but, never quite there. So I just assumed it was the same. And I believe, I don't know, one of the aid stations, Coach Megan had told me I was in like 4th or 5th. So I assumed that meant that I was like really in 5th or 6th, because like people don't always know.
Yeah.
And then I'd passed a couple people. So I was like, oh, okay, like top 5. I think that's when I'm, going. And then it just got to the point of like, I just want to finish. I don't even care anymore. Just finish. And I think I was just so focused on that goal that I didn't hear what anybody else was saying to me. If they yelled anything, I was just like zoned in to finish, don't fall, and cross the finish line. And so that I was completely oblivious to it.
I should have told you when you passed me, like 2 miles from the finish.
I'm not sure I would have picked it up even if you said it to me.
Should have been like, I don't know anything anymore.
I don't know who I am right now. So
dropping down to a little bit of a shorter race this weekend, 50K on Sunday.
Yeah.
You live in Colorado Springs, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So what did Dylan sell you? Who sold you on coming out to run a 50K?
She sent us an email. We said we would love to have
this. Yeah, it's so pretty out here. I mean, I love the desert. I love dry, but it's just so green and pretty. And I've just seen pictures, and I'm like, I gotta do it. And I thought it would be good to kind of kick my butt into gear to, move towards the goal of Western States. It'd be good to get this run in as kind of a motivator. And a girlfriend is from here, and she was doing it, and I was like, I'm jumping in on your trip. So that's what I did.
Did you leave the kids at home?
I did.
Maybe that inspired it too.
Yeah, a little bit. I love a girls' trip, so that's always nice.
All right, so speaking of girls' trip, your buddy Matt Daniels blew your cover, and he said that you went wine tasting all day on Thursday. Is that true before your 50K on Sunday?
Oh, no, we just got back from wine tasting.
Today. Okay.
Oh, it's fine. You're not running. You're not running at 5 a.m. tomorrow. We got until Sunday. You're golden.
I got time. No,
that's
what I did.
That's the perfect taper, I think.
Yeah, right? Relax.
Girls' trip. Very relaxed.
Right. That's right.
Well, maybe just talk a little bit about, like, as you think about Western States, like how something like this fits in, and just sort of like, coming off what is, I think you would characterize the biggest result of your career at Black Canyon.
Absolutely, yeah.
Then thinking about your career in a way that gives you the best opportunity to succeed on one of the biggest stages in the sport, which is Western States, and where Gorge sort of fits in between those two things.
Yeah, so I think I just talked to Coach Megan. I think she had a good point that, like, coming off of a big race, you start to kind of question yourself, like, shoot, was that a fluke? Am I actually good? And I think this is almost a practice of, like, that mentality of, like, okay, I'm in a race again. You have a little self-doubt thoughts and concerns and worries, and kind of practicing getting out there, being on a stage on a race again, and kind of fighting off those negative self-talk that we tend to get into. And so a good practice for that, if nothing else, of just, I'm here, I'm going to have a good training run, and that's all that matters. And I'm going to have fun, because that's ultimately what it's about, and work on kind of that mental component.
And she brought the sunshine with her.
Yeah. Yes,
Last year was a little bit different.
I was a little nervous. I don't do well with rain or cold, so I'm
Hence
glad
the
it's
Black
nice.
Canyons and Javelinas.
Yeah, right,
okay.
exactly.
That
Give me
makes sense.
desert, give me heat, and I am thriving. So
Well, you're in for a treat this weekend. I think we've got ideal running weather both Saturday and Sunday. What
looks like.
What are you up to tomorrow while the 100K is going on? More wine tasting?
Yeah, right. I think I'm gonna try to chill. I'd love to come out and cheer, so maybe we'll fit that in at some point.
We'll hand you a gimbal and you can chase some of the leaders around for us.
Right.
Yeah, just like some openers, you know?
Just to put some quick strides. No, and then just chilling, doing nothing tomorrow, I think is the goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for making the time for us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
When you say Coach Megan, does that mean Megan Roche?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, man, and Hannah Allgood's coached by Megan. Also, she had a great race today.
Yeah.
So, seems like the swap crew.
Oh, they clean up the podium.
Yeah.
left, right, and center.
That's awesome. Well, shout out to Megan. Good luck to you, Lauren. Thank you for coming to our race.
Thanks, of course.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Happy
good
to be
luck.
here.
Big round of applause
Enjoy
for Lauren
beer.
Purette's one of our favorites in the 50K. Yeah. Why don't we just do Lottie now?
Yeah, I think we've got Lottie Brinks in the house as well.
Lottie Brinks, all right.
You get up here.
Come on up here. Cockle-doodle-doo, have a great shred.
Did you see the work that she did for her,
Yes,
her next
I did.
patch?
You are multi-talented.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that I want you to make me a laser cut dress.
I can.
Yes.
Can you really?
I have to file
She's
ready.
amazing. Multi-talented, multi-faceted, incredibly fast.
Yes,
Lottie Brinks.
introducing our guest. This is Lottie Brinks, last year's second place finisher in the Gorge 100K. She just won our other race, the Big Alta 50K in February. And here she is back for another run at the 100K tomorrow. One of our favorites. Welcome, Lottie. Good to see you.
I'm really excited to be here. I love this race. I'm excited to do it again.
What brought you back? Just that you knew it was going to be a beautiful, sunshiny weekend.
Well, last year it was not so sunshiny, which I honestly kind of loved because last year was the first time I've ever really been to the Pacific Northwest. And I felt like I got the real, like, rainy, wet Pacific Northwest. And I thought it was cool. But I'm glad that we have nice weather tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be nice and sunny. Maybe a little hot.
You and I got to run at least like 5 miles or so together at the Big Alta. Tell us where you are, like how that race sort of kicked off your season, where you've been in terms of training and stuff, because it was a super impressive start to the season, I have to say.
I really love that race. I mean, I have states later this year, and I kind of wanted to get good speed and do some shorter races. I did Big Alta, and then I also did a faster half marathon 2 weeks ago, just a local trail half marathon. But I also really wanted to remind my body that I can run for a really long time, because 100 miles is a long time, and if you only do shorter races before that, it's nice to remind yourself that you can do it. And that's part of the reason why I signed up again. And the other reason is just that I just love the course. I just really liked the race last year. And I don't usually ever do races twice. At least I haven't really before. And I think it's kind of exciting because now I can kind of, chase myself and chase my time from last year and try to improve it. And that's also exciting to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you'll have some really amazing women to chase as well. The women's 100K, which we'll preview.
I think it's a race of the
bit.
weekend, yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It's really
I
good.
think they're going to push me really hard.
Yeah.
Which is good because that means I probably will break my time from last year.
Yeah, I think what's really impressive too, so you won the Grindstone 100K back in the fall to get that golden ticket into Western States, which we are so excited to see you finally run that race in June. We talked to Lauren a little bit about kind of her build from Black Canyon towards Western States. You are also building towards Western States. We're kind of mid-April right now. You've got a nice lead up now into Western States at the very end of June.
Yeah.
Talk about how this 100K effort is really kind of the jumping off point for this next training block.
I think the next training block is probably going to be more specific towards states. It's kind of nice that this race, it is starting to get a little warmer. I get to, feel the sun on my skin. There's some good climbs here. There's some good rocky sections, kind of like the high country here. It's not necessarily the same, but I feel like this race is gonna set me up well to jump into the next block. And I'm honestly not entirely sure yet what I'm gonna do, which is why it's nice to have a coach. I coached myself most of last year, and I had to plan everything. And now I'm like, well, I just trust Tyler to do whatever he does, and I just, execute.
Who's your coach?
Tyler Green.
Tyler Green is coaching you. I didn't even know
I just saw
that.
him a little bit ago.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
What a great coach. Is that fairly new?
As of December.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so then maybe backing up a step and going a little bit more meta is like, as Corrine said, you won Grindstone, you won the Big Alta, you were second here at Gorge. I mean, you've been solid, like those of us in the sport know Laddie Brinks, but it feels to me like, you're sort of emerging into, that next category. Does it feel that way to you, or how do you think about where you are in your career right now, and, especially going into Western states, if anything changes psychologically?
I think last year was pretty big for me because 2022 was really rough. Like I just had a lot of bad races. And 2023, I kind of got out of that funk somehow, and I feel like it did help that I just coached myself for a while and that I just kind of willy-nilly went for runs every day, and that kind of got me out of overthinking it. But now that I had a couple good races under my belt, I kind of wanted to get more serious about it again and still have a lot of fun, but fun with structure.
I remember watching you run Javelina, I want to say. Was that 2021? 2022? The 100 mile.
The 100 mile was 2021.
Yeah, I was there. And I remember
ultras.
yelling at you and yelling at Tessa Chesser because it was kind of close going into that last lap. I historically think of you as this really fast runner, like a flatter ground Javelina, Rocky Raccoon style runner, can jump into a half marathon and rip a really good time. Talk a little bit about, I know you've moved to Boise, talk a little bit about kind of honing that athleticism into being more of a well-rounded mountain runner.
I think the move to Boise helped a ton with my running career, and it's because now I actually get vert and I have endless trails to play around.
Because you moved from Austin, Texas, right?
Yeah. So Austin has good trails. I love the city. It's a really fun city, but the trails are all within little parks. They're all within state parks. They have one big loop around the lake, which is just a bike path, really. So there's not as much variety, and there are also just not as many trail runners, period. So I feel like the move in to Boise helped me both in just the running in the terrain, but also that I have so many people to run with now, and so many people to push me, and so many people to have a good time with, that it just brings everything to a whole nother level.
Yeah, steel sharpens steel.
I was going to ask you to say a little bit more about that, because it does feel like Boise's really ascendant, or there's just a really good group of runners. There was a huge group at the Big Alta. You guys found.
So fun.
There was a ton of Boise runners in the 30K today. I'm sure you have some other friends here. So talk a little bit about that community. I noticed that you posted too that there was some fun get together among the trail running community recently.
We had Fleet Feet Meridian, which my friend Megan owns, who's a really fast sub ultra mountain runner. They put on a showing of the Trail Film Fest, and it was just a really fun event where we watched movies and had a good time together. But the Boise trail running community is very I wouldn't say, I don't know, we're just very low key but excited about it. We're not it's just always a really fun group, and everyone is always down for an adventure. It's not necessarily super structured or anything, but there are a lot of good runners there, and they're all really down to have a good time and to just be out there.
I was going to say, independent of how tomorrow goes, we're going to talk you into coming back for a third running next year, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Come on.
Done deal. Love it.
Maybe building off something that Corrine said a second ago, you are the type of athlete that has a lot of range. You can run a fast half marathon. You're really good at 50K. You've done longer races, 100Ks, 100 milers. Where do you view your biggest strength right now, and maybe what do you enjoy most?
I love the 100K distance. Yeah. I think that's my favorite. 50Ks kind of stress me out because you have to go so fast the whole entire time, but it's still a long way to go. The half marathon I did the other day was even more stressful.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I really love it. It's a really fun rush of adrenaline, but it's just stressful, and 100K is still, you still have a day, you still have that feeling of just being out there and having a day. but you don't have to like do all that excessive planning and logistics of a 100-miler, and that's why I love the 100K.
Anything else from you?
I mean, as I guess my last question maybe, and Yassine, if you're watching or listening, sorry she doesn't choose you. As a repeat 100K runner here, the aid stations are pretty proud of themselves on this course. They really show up in full force with the broth boys last year. Yassine is like getting a chocolate fountain out of his garage.
The chocolate fondue fountain at
I'm
Cascade Locks
sure.
aid station.
So-
I was there last
Ginger
year.
ale and champagne flutes.
So I guess the question is,
Shout out
again,
to the Weiss Wolf Pack, I have to say.
yeah. So the question is there a favorite aid station for tomorrow, or are you going to be judging them pretty critically?
I mean, I know that Yassine's aid station is going to be great, but I hear there's a cowgirl aid station.
There is, yeah. Which
And-
one is that? Waklala. Shout out to Cowgill.
Yeah, hard to fight the Cowgill folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta give it to the cowgirl folks. That's for sure. From
Sweet.
one herd to another.
Well, Lottie, good luck to you tomorrow. We're
you.
rooting for you. Thank you for coming to our race. It's so great to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Big round of applause for Lottie Brinks.
Thank you guys.
Good cheering you on. I'll be here all day tomorrow talking about you.
So Lottie and Corrine were both just mentioning Yassine DeBoon, an icon of Portland trail running, a guy I've known for 15 years. He and their group, the Weiss Wolf Pack, managed the Cascade Locks aid station. He is going to be our on-course correspondent both days from his own aid station, and I think he'll be wearing a tuxedo on our live stream for 2 days straight.
I would
Sleeping in a van.
expect nothing
Wearing
less.
a tuxedo, sleeping in a van.
Classic,
That's why trail running's the best.
classic trail running shenanigans. Should we actually preview
Let's
the races
preview some races all
for
right?
tomorrow?
All right, so tomorrow's the 100K. Again, I guess let's start with the women's race because I have said in multiple places I think this is the race of the weekend. Lottie Brinks just joined us. She comes in as the top returning finisher and certainly one of the favorites. Maybe you want to tick through some of the others?
Yeah, so other women on the start line tomorrow, and I'm sure we're missing someone who's like flying under the radar. I did my best to dig into the folks with zero ultra sign up ranking, etc., because they sneak in here periodically, particularly in the shorter distance racing. But with Lottie Brinks, you've got Elsa McDonald, who wins almost everything she touches. She finished 2023 with a top 10 finish at UTMB. She's won both of her opening races out in Arizona this year, a 35K and a 50K. I think finishing first and second overall, respectively, in those races as well. Incredibly talented runner.
Second at Western States 2 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, she is, and that was her coming back to Western States after a disappointment kind of 2 years before that, 2018 timeframe, I guess. And then she's like, cool, Western States done.
Yep.
Now it's UTMB. Had a 7th place there last year. I imagine that she's coming back this year for vengeance. So really excited to see her here, along with she's kind of leading a strong Canadian group. And then Georgia Porter is also on the start line. We saw her actually at the Black Canyon 60K earlier this season where she was second, and Chuckanut. I think Chuckanut was kind of a harder day for her. She dove headfirst into 100-mile racing last Lonesome 100. She was 4th at Run Rabbit. She is incredibly talented, and she's only been in the sport for, I think, 3 years at this point, jumping up in distance really rapidly.
Is she from Phoenix or Flagstaff?
She lives in Flagstaff. Yeah,
she's an Aerovipa runner, I think, right? Georgia Porter?
Georgia Porter?
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. She'll be running in a cropped Aerovipa top that she's just hacked off in the middle. But behind her, you've got Rachel Lemke, Christina Randrup, Michelle Bunke, Nicole Abema, who's someone that people probably don't know. She won the Lake Sonoma 100K in the inaugural edition last year, another Canadian athlete out of the Calgary Canmore area, and she's mega talented.
Canadians.
And Jenny Quilty as well.
Canadian.
Abbotsford Canadian.
Yeah.
So it's just you keep scrolling and the names just keep hitting.
Yeah. It's pretty rad.
It's going to be an insane race.
Race of the weekend. Also, Rachel Lemke returned. She was 3rd place here at Gorge last year, so she was behind Lottie in the 100K. So she's a returning runner with experience on the course, and also part of this Colorado Springs contingent too. Hannah Allgood, Lauren Peretz, Rachel Lemke. I think they're all sort of from that neck of the woods too.
Yeah, we've got some regional specificity. You got Christina Randrup, who's from the Seattle area.
Talk about her because she was at the Big Alta. She finished 2nd behind Lottie at the Big
50K.
Alta this year.
Yeah, she's a gal who races a lot. I want to say she ran a 50K every month of the year last year. She's run 100K before, but this is her stepping back up to that distance.
Yeah.
I don't know that she's run 100K since maybe Black Canyon 100K in 2020. So it's kind of coming back up to the 100K distance, and excited to see. She's got an all-star crew out there. I think Claire DeVoe is sticking around to help crew her.
Nice.
Rich Lockwood, Tara Fraga. She's got an amazing team behind the scenes for the 100K tomorrow, but she's a Seattle area slugger, a PhD student. She's incredibly smart and incredibly fast.
She had a tough go at Chuckanut, but notably at both the Big Alta and Chuckanut, she started with like a cast on her arm.
She fell and broke her wrist and had to have it surgically reduced in January. I actually flew home from Japan. She drove to my house. I drove her to the surgery, brought her back to our house, like post 19-hour flight or whatever, and like mama henned her for a day and then sent her back on her way. But yeah, she's run most of the early season with a wrist, like a brace on. I think the brace is finally off. But it really took a big hit to her downhill confidence. She's an incredibly fast runner, and I think that confidence has been rebuilt over the last 2 races as far as just trusting herself. And so I'm curious if the brace will be on her arm tomorrow.
She wasn't wearing it just walking around today, but I didn't ask. But
I think that confidence has to come back up after she fell on ice on a long trail run. I think it really shook her. So now I feel like she's back with confidence to run those downhills hard.
Yeah, and she's, still young, just like Lottie. I view both of them as being like part of this class that's sort of coming up on the ascent right now and who will be household names here in the years to come. Let's talk about Jenny Quilty real quick, too, because I met her at
Canadian favorite.
Yeah, I met her at Western States training camp. It was last year, I think. Yeah, and she went on to finish 11th. Painful finish at Western
Fastest 11th place finish ever.
Oh, that's even more painful.
Anne-Marie Madden the year before had been the fastest 11th place ever. Yeah. And the Canadian honor went to Jenny Quilty this year. She got that she got a golden ticket into the race by going to Doi Inthanon in the December before that race. Yeah. Rugged, insanely not fast 100-mile race.
Right. That's what I was going to ask, is because Gorge is like a good mix between fast and slow. Like, it's pretty technical, and I know she sort of thrives in hard courses.
She does, but she ran a brilliantly fast Western States. Right. I mean, 10th place was an 18:30 or something. Yeah. Like, that is kind of stupid fast on the fast scale. True. So I think that Jenny is a person who can run really fast stuff, but I think she thrives in the more mountainous terrain. But she actually went back to Doi Inthanon this year, didn't quite have the day that she was hoping for. The weather was horrible. The course was extra hard. Had to actually drop out of that race, which shifted her season a bit with Western States not being the focus. And so I'm really excited that the benefit to us is that we get to have folks like Jenny Quilty in our race.
So true. I'm just scrolling through the list here. You mentioned Michelle Bunke. I think Keely, after she leaves the studio, is going to be crewing her.
Yeah, she is. I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure she's an ENT surgical resident at OHSU, and she ran CCC. She had that was like her one little vacation as like an intern resident. So stellar Portland gal, trains with Keely a bunch, and Keely will be out there supporting her for the back half of the race.
Sweet. Let's talk about the men's 50K here. Maybe I'll get us started. I kind of feel like probably the favorite in tomorrow's race is probably Darren Thomas. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. I think that while we think of him historically as a faster, shorter distance runner, a phenomenal VK runner, a phenomenal 23K runner, etc., but he's done, he's run longer. He's got 50-mile chops, and so I'm really excited to see him in a faster, runnable, gritty 100K performance, and I think that it could really solidify like kind of a cool jumping off point for his season.
He's so good, man. I've always felt like, if I were building a team, I would want to recruit Darren,
He's been hamstrung by injuries a bit that like knocked him out for more or less an entire season. So it's been he actually was at Black Canyon crewing and pacing another Reno athlete to a phenomenal top 10 finish there. And so I think the gears are turning, and I'm excited to see what Darren lines up for the rest of his season.
Speaking of Boise, Reno is off the charts right now too.
Ascendant trail towns.
As you mentioned, Darren in recent years has been known as a short course shredder. In fact, he's like won the Broken Arrow VK, right? Like he's a VO2 max monster, but he actually hilariously was a member of the ultra running team at Virginia Tech University and lined up and got, I think, at least one lap in at the Barkley when he was like 19 years old. And now he's like very good at VKs, and now he's sort of coming back into long distance. So just an eclectic, funny dude who's also mega talented.
Yeah, mega talented. It won't be, it's not a runaway win in the men's 100K though by any means. The other two guys that I've really kind of pegged as like known quantities rather, are Adam Loomis and Elliot Carden, both who are phenomenally talented athletes who kind of are converging from two totally opposite ends of the spectrum. We've got fast road in Elliot Carden, and we've got Nordic combined athlete, so ski jumping and Nordic skiing, and Adam Loomis kind of coming together into very, very solid 100K runners.
All right, so tell me more about Adam Loomis, because he just introduced himself to me at the finish line, and I literally just pressed follow on his Instagram account here on my computer.
The tipping point.
But I mean, obviously, I've like heard his name around the scene for a little bit, but haven't really followed him closely, obviously. But he's decked out in Dina Fit. He looks like he's a mountain dude. He obviously.
Yeah, I don't.
He looks like a ski mountaineer.
Yeah, and he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was kind of one of those guys who was in that Nordic combined world. So they're akin to cross country skiers. They're just like aerobic monsters, right?
My son is here in the audience.
He's not going to say anything to us. That's okay. We could give him a microphone. He's very talented on the mic.
Yes.
But yeah, Adam Loomis, coming from that Nordic combined background, one of those aerobic monsters, but he has kind of, in more recent years, really transitioned that love of spending time outside into ski mountaineering, including competing in ski mountaineering races, and then also trail running, just spending time on the mountain bike, etc. So he's really one of those people that's all around very athletic. And I would say that cross-country skiers and Nordic combined in this group are kind of dangerous athletes. They're strong enough and tough enough to do just about anything, even if the skill has not risen to that level yet. Like, they're a dangerous person to have climbing because they're really strong, but you got to like help fit things in.
That's what he said to me. He was like, I would usually never be fit enough to run 100K this time of the year. So he's like, I just ran more this winter, basically with the implication.
But I think it's his first trail race of the season, so he'll be kicking it off here.
Yeah. Anyway, a really cool, new athlete, or at least somebody who I'll be sort of watching closely race weekend. You mentioned Elliot Carden, another Canadian who came down to the race. Actually, Sean Hayworth here is going to be his crew.
Sick.
And pacer and, I guess, content guy, media guy.
Social media manager. Love it. No muling. But no, like incredibly fast runner. I feel like his results don't yet meet what I think we believe he's capable of, if that makes sense. Like in the last year, he's had two kind of mediocre golden ticket race performances. He had an 8th place, I think, at Black Canyon and 11th at Grindstone. So he gutted these things out. But I don't think that yet meets the threshold of what he's truly capable of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he notably did not start Black Canyon because I don't think he was either injured or not fit enough. Maybe, Sean, do you want to add any color? He was sick before Black Canyon, so had to pull the plug before the start there, and then, went back to the drawing board. And luckily for us, he chose to come to Gorge.
I love when the drawing board, unfortunately, might end one of your season dreams, but then like the whole new season opens up, and there are so many amazing races out there. It's like, cool, Western States is off the table. What am I going to run? UTMB's off the table. What am I going to run? And it's like these races fill that gap in a really beautiful way.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's talk about the 50K because we're going a little long form here, and I'm sure everybody wants to go home and get a little bit of rest before we go full ultra marathon all weekend. 50K.
Where do you want to
get started?
Sure. We'll start with the women. We'll start with the women for the 50K.
Also, just a baller field.
A really, really solid field. When I was looking at the preview for this, so we had Lauren Puretz on. Got to talk to her. Incredibly fast athlete. Solid at the 100K, 100-mile distance, but really, really has some fast running legs. But she's going to be up against people like Sarah Beal, who is also really fast. She broke Ellie Greenwood's JFK 50-mile course record back in 2022.
She's in Boulder now?
Yep. And I think that she is just like unbelievably talented, but like we need to have her crack the code a little bit. Was second at Headlands 50K, won the NACAC championship, which is like a North Central American championship up in Canada last year for the 50K, leading Team USA there. But you've got Seattle shredder Tara Fraga, who you can never count out of the mix.
Who's going to be an on-course correspondent tomorrow before racing on Sunday.
But she won the 84K at Trans Gran Canaria not that long ago, and she's prepping for the UTMB race down in South America. That's in about a month, I want to say. But then Michelle Lutz is someone that people don't really know I think she's new to the Seattle area, lives in Issaquah, but won Tiger Claw last year, is really, really talented, but will be under the radar. I also put Sarah Alabin and Abigail Forsman in that
Sarah
group
Alabin
as well.
was third at the Big Alta. That was the first time I had learned who she was, and she obviously put together a great race then.
Yeah, so a solid
regional
group.
athlete who, you know, will be competitive for the win in the 50K.
Yeah, some known quantities, and then some really cool up and coming names that I think are going to be very much in that mix.
I don't think I have much to add. I think you've covered most of it on the women's side. So maybe transitioning over to the men before we wrap up. I was going to start with Dylan Humberger, who was he was
third at Chuckanut.
Well, he was third here in the 50K. Yeah. He came in last year and went toe-to-toe with Dakota Jones
25?
early, and they both imploded in the 50K. Matt Daniels won. But Dylan was like sort of one of the stories of the weekend, I felt like. This tough young kid from Ashland, Oregon, hung on to third place.
Yeah, so he was a standout. So he's one of the few people who like grew up in Bozeman, Montana. We all love Bozeman, Montana, but he's from Bozeman. That they have a standout cross country and track program at Bozeman High School. He is from that track program. I don't know what happened with him collegiately, but I think post that time period, he's now living in Ashland, Oregon, and is like really coming on to the trail scene. He was third, about 10 minutes off of Matt Daniels and Francesco Pupi at Chuckanut, but to be third in still an incredibly fast time behind the likes of Francesco, the best 50K runner in the world right now on the trail, and Matt Daniels is a pretty good podium to find yourself on.
Hell yeah. So again, sort of like Lottie, like Christina, keep your eye on Dylan Humberger this weekend. Chris Myers, one of the stories of the Black Canyon 100K where he finished third place, punching his ticket to Western States. Like Lauren, he chose to come get one of his final tune-ups here at Gorge this weekend. Chris, recent boulder transplant. I think he's living up in Netherlands.
Yep.
So moved from Southern California up to the mountains. Super talented, super ambitious young kid, and also has personality, which I always enjoy.
Yeah, no, he's been really close to a golden ticket in the past, and it felt like this finally was him nailing it at Black Canyon, and I'm excited to see what he does in what will be his debut 100-mile at Western States. But the other people I had on my list, so Chris and Dylan are kind of the young up-and-comers. You've got local, though, Alex King. He's from just across the river on the Washington side of things. I think he's got every FKT up every volcano in the Pacific Northwest, more or less. He is an absolute crusher. Ruptured his Achilles last year, I want to say. Major Achilles injury. Took him out for basically the entire season. Had surgery on it. Has been training on the bike. And I'm really just excited to see him back on a start line. But he is an incredibly stout mountain human. But then you've got like some more like long time shredders in Drew Mueller, Mike Siddick, and Josh Fry, who I think will be kind of nipping at the heels if anyone pulls a Dakota and a Dylan early in the race. Yep.
The last name I was going to add in there is Matthew Bigman. He was second place at the 30K last year, a local shredder. And he came out, at least I saw him at our shakeout run on Thursday. And he said he's feeling really good and just sort of one of those under the radar local assassins like Claire DeVoe, who I think could be competitive for podium or victory. So keep your eye on Matthew Bigman. I think that can wrap up our preview. So I hope we gave you enough names to sort of watch throughout the weekend. Again, make sure you get your fantasy picks in. Fantasy.freetrail.com.
If you don't do it, Travis here is going to find you.
He's the guy who built it. Green hat. He built it from scratch. He's a legend. Software guru. Thank you, Travis. Fantasy.freetrail.com. Pick 5 deep for men and women in 100K and 50K. We'll have Free Trail swag on the line. Maybe I can convince Jeremy we could throw in an entry to the Big Alta or Gorge Waterfalls or something like that for future years. So go play fantasy. A big thank you to the folks at the Mountain Outpost who are going to be managing the live stream all weekend. We're going to go live at, I think, 4:30 a.m. tomorrow, 4:45 a.m. on the same YouTube channel that you're watching now. So smash that subscribe button. Corrine, thank you so much. So great to have you here at Gorge, and I'm so grateful that you would both host a broadcast and run one of our races. So good. We forgot to mention you in our preview. God. Corrine Malcolm, one of the favorites in the 50K. Can't believe we forgot
No one knows.
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing it. Big thank you to Clark and to Speedland for, being the presenting partners for the Gorge Waterfalls for the 3rd year in a row. You guys are the best shoes in the game. RunSpeedland.com. Pick yourself up a pair. Thank you to Jeremy, our race director. Everybody in the audience. Simon Freeman, he's going to be on the TV here tomorrow. Ryan Thrower's in the back. Shout out to Ryan Thrower, our guy. I think that's it.
We're going to go crash this rehearsal dinner downstairs?
Yes, and then I'm going to go crash into my bed so that I can be up at 3:30 in the morning. For Corrine Malcolm, I'm Dylan Bowman. See you tomorrow. Peace out.